On April 26, 1986, the fourth reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear plant near the Ukrainian city of Pripyat exploded. The explosion caused deadly radiation to seep out into the atmosphere. The town of Pripyat was evacuated a few days later, and many people died as a result of nuclear sickness. The World Health Organization estimates that over 30,000 people died as a result of the exposure to radiation, and that number could be as high as 90,000. Chernobyl is thought of as one of the worst disasters ever, so naturally there are a lot of scary stories that go along with it. Here are 10 scary stories about Chernobyl that you shouldn't listen to at night. What is gravy? You are watching InformOverload. I'm Charlotte, and I'm assuming you're bored. Are you bored? Well, I have your ultimate cure for boredom right here. Hit that subscribe for daily news updates and turn on that notification bell so you're one of the first people to find out when we upload. Alright kids, grab a flashlight, hide it under your blankets, and buckle in. Here are 10 scary stories about Chernobyl. Coming in at number 10, we have mutant animals. When residents of Chernobyl and Pripyat were told to evacuate, they were told to leave their pets at home. The animals that were left behind were extremely affected by the radiation. There are many reports about deformed and strange looking animals found near Chernobyl. This photo is of a piglet born near Chernobyl that suffered from dipagus, a severe congenital deformity where the body axis forks left and right partway along the torso, and the pelvis and legs are duplicated. This piglet is currently on display at the Ukrainian National Chernobyl Museum. Animals that currently live near Chernobyl are not as affected, but there are instances of genetic mutations. Birds that live near the exclusion zone have developed smaller brains. Dogs don't live as long. Nowadays, animals that live near Chernobyl are actually thriving, but we still don't know what the long-term effects of exposure to radiation does to the human body over time. After the explosion took place, there are upsetting reports of dogs howling and running after buses, longing for human contact. Next up at number 9, abortion. It's estimated that anywhere between 100,000 to 200,000 abortions were performed in Europe as a result of Chernobyl radiophobia. After the disaster took place, Eastern European doctors advised and in many cases forced pregnant women to have abortions so that their children were not born with birth defects. But the fact is, many of the women that gave up their unborn children did not experience a dangerous level of radiation. It was too low to cause any real problems. It's crazy to think that these women were wrongfully advised to give up their children because people were so afraid of the effects of radiation. Next up at number 8, we have the Chernobyl dolls. Does anyone else find dolls terrifying? How about dolls that were meant to symbolize nuclear horror? After the Chernobyl explosion, the town of Pripyat was littered with children's dolls and toys, and it seems that someone has taken it upon themselves to arrange the dolls on hospital beds. Some of them have gas masks on, and many of the dolls' faces are destroyed. These dolls were probably placed there by tourists who are actually told not to touch anything while visiting Chernobyl. Sure, it's safe to visit Chernobyl for a few hours. Over 10,000 tourists flock to the exclusion zone every year, but in doing so, it's clear that they've touched contaminated objects like these dolls, probably to make their Instagram photos look cooler. Let's hope they also didn't get radiation poisoning in the process. At number 7, we have the liquidators. Chernobyl was a mess that could not be cleaned up without people. People that would undoubtedly get radiation poisoning from being so close to the damaged nuclear reactor. At first, the Soviet government sent in robots to the exclusion zone to help put out the fire, but the radiation in the air was too much even for the robots. So instead, the government sent in soldiers. The soldiers were given a choice. They could either serve 2 years in Afghanistan or spend 2 minutes shoveling sand into the exposed Chernobyl reactor. At the time, it was believed by people in the Ukraine that vodka helped protect you from radiation. So the liquidators took a shot of vodka and quickly shoveled sand onto the reactor for 2 minutes. But even 2 minutes of exposure to the radiation was enough to kill many of these soldiers who died of radiation poisoning. Are you ready for number 6? We got the elephant's foot. The elephant's foot is a large mass of black corium with many layers. It's essentially a highly radioactive lava flow that's formed the shape of a wrinkly elephant's foot. It's made up of silicon dioxide and traces of uranium and was first discovered 8 months after formation. If you went anywhere near the elephant's foot for even 60 seconds, it would kill you. If you're exposed to it for 30 seconds, the following week you will experience dizziness. The photos that we have of the elephant's foot show a worker interacting with it, taking samples. But the elephant's foot is still highly radioactive. Not as radioactive as it once was, but very dangerous still. Exposure to it for even an hour will kill you, and it will remain radioactive for the next 100,000 years. The elephant's foot is dubbed the most dangerous piece of waste in the world. Next up at number 5, the grim effect on children. Children under the age of 5 who are exposed to high radiation levels are likely to suffer from health complications. things like stunted growth, bad dental health, and immune disorders. Chernobyl children are also 10 times more likely to get thyroid cancer. The thyroid gland is most sensitive to ionizing radiation at 4 years or younger, and according to the World Health Organization, thyroid cancer rates among children in Eastern Europe went up by 90% after Chernobyl. To this day, in the Ukraine, 6,000 children are born every year with genetic heart defects. There's been a 200% increase in birth defects and a 250% increase in congenital birth deformities in children born in the Chernobyl fallout area since 1986. And for many of these children, it will affect future generations. In Belarus, for example, 85% of children carry genetic markers that could affect their health at any time, and also will be passed on to their children. At number 4, we have the blackbird of Chernobyl. A few days before the day of the disaster, multiple workers saw a terrifying winged creature with a black body and piercing red eyes. Many people regarded these sightings as a bad omen. Most of the witnesses are now dead from contamination, but according to archaeologist Robert Maxwell, who worked at the site, he heard stories about the blackbird of Chernobyl from local residents while he was working at the exclusion zone. He says that the blackbird is similar to the Mothman, which is a creature that is said to live somewhere close to Point Pleasant in West Virginia. It was seen between November 1966 and 1967, and also during the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Like the Mothman, many witnesses saw the blackbird of Chernobyl flying away from the reactor, and after the disaster happened, the sightings stopped. Many people believe that these beings are a sign that bad days are coming. He said, like a moth is drawn to a flame, the Mothman or the blackbird are simply drawn to the energy of disaster. It is time for number 3. Being a place where so much death occurred, Chernobyl is ripe with ghost stories. One of the most famous comes from Andrei Karuskov. Nuclear physicist Andrei Karuskov had a strange encounter when he went to Chernobyl in 1997. He said that he went to the power station at around 7:30 a.m. and then went to the number 4 reactor sarcophagus. This is the exact place where the explosion happened. He couldn't enter because of the radiation, but he swears he heard someone screaming for help from a fire inside. He said, "I ran upstairs to tell someone, but they said that when I entered the reactor control room, I was the first person to open that door in 3 years. And the only way to get inside the old reactor is through the doors I came in through. If someone had gone inside the reactor when I was not looking, they would have tripped an alarm that goes off when the reactor door is opened mechanically. The reactor door requires a password and a handprint, yet someone or something was inside." Later that evening, as we were eating dinner outside the building by the river next to the plant, a floodlight turned on in the room of the installation. There was no way anyone could be inside. As we ate, we figured there was just a power surge or something. Then, as my colleague said that, the light turned off. At number 2, we have the firefighters. There are few people who are remembered as heroes the way that the Chernobyl firefighters are to this day. The firefighters that were sent to put out that fire at the scene did so at 1:23 in the morning. They were not dressed in radiation gear that would have protected them. They were dressed in standard issue Soviet firefighter uniforms. That is pretty much a death wish, and many of them did die, but not before suffering painful, agonizingly long deaths. Vasily Ignatenkos' face was peeling. When he was taken to the hospital, Vasily Ignatenkos' face was peeling, at which point the doctor told him a cup of milk would help him because he was only suffering from fume poisoning, as many of the patients at the Pripyat hospital were told. But they weren't suffering from fume poisoning, they were suffering from radiation poisoning. Vladimir Pravik was a 23-year-old firefighter and was exposed to so much radiation his eyes changed from brown to blue. He died 2 weeks later. Very few of the Chernobyl firefighters live on to this day, and the ones that are alive are barely 40 years old and are suffering from terrible health problems and are unable to work. To make matters worse, Chernobyl survivors and their family are only given about $70 a month to live on by the Ukrainian government. It's estimated that 28 firefighters and cleanup workers died within 3 months of the disaster, and they all died from radiation sickness. And coming in at number 1, the moment you've all been waiting for, the next story on our list comes from a musician named Yuri and a survivor of Chernobyl. Back when the disaster first happened, performers were brought in to calm the local residents, but many of these performers ended up getting radiation sickness themselves. Yuri was once a classically trained pianist who has lost his eyesight and developed numerous illnesses as a result of Chernobyl. After the disaster, he was in a state-sponsored music dance troupe that was sent to Pripyat and the surrounding area to calm residents. The musicians and performers were not told that they were going to a highly radioactive danger zone and were forbidden from talking to locals. Even though the effects of radiation and death were all around them, they gave their best performances ever. Yuri describes a ballerina whose hair was falling off as she spun. Blood leaked from her nostrils and down her cheeks from her ears as she danced. This was the last time this ballerina would ever pirouette. Yuri escaped the USSR and began to lose his vision on the flight. He is completely blind to this day, and he's the only musician that lived. Honestly dude, that last one was so hauntingly beautiful and so sad to hear about at the same time. It really struck a chord with me, and all these stories are just so sad. Chernobyl really was the worst disaster in history, at least in my opinion, and we dedicate this video to the victims and their families. Why don't you tell me which fact was the scariest to you down there in the comments, and for now I'm just gonna wrap up this video with some comment features from our video. Chernobyl creator has warning for Instagram influencers. His Fit said, I really want these people to find the elephant's foot. If you don't know what that is, then Google it and come back. Googled, and that is savage, bro. I wouldn't wish an elephant's foot on anyone, not even an Instagram influencer. Original Ashrella said, man, I hope the Chernobyl tour guides get paid well. Yeah, I wonder how much they do get paid. It better be a lot. Aimbot said, why would I want my news entertaining? Just tell me. Why not? Alright guys, that is it for me. You're watching the end screen right now, so it means the video's over, but if you want to keep watching, there's a playlist right over here for you that you should definitely check out. And obviously, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and I will see you in a future IO video.